On this episode of Eric Mintel Investigates, the team travels to Manchester, Connecticut to investigate the history and the mysteries of Cheney Hall. Strange shadows, weird sounds, and a historical connection like no other. What will the team encounter? My name is Eric Mintel. By night, I'm a professional jazz musician, but by even later at night, I investigate the paranormal. I, along with my team of paranormal investigators, travel the country investigating all things paranormal. This is Eric Mintel Investigates. Originally a part of Hartford, Connecticut and called the 5 Mile Tract, Manchester was incorporated as a town in 1823. Named for Manchester, England, it was rich in sawmills and paper mills before the American Revolution. In 1838, 6 brothers from the Cheney family founded a silk manufacturing company in Manchester, utilizing innovative silk production methods. The company became the wealthiest silk mill in the country by the late 1880s. Today, the town of Manchester boasts coffee houses, restaurants, festivals, and events for the entire family. One historic landmark stands out from the crowd. The stately Cheney Hall building has been a cornerstone of the community since the 1800s. We arrived at Cheney Hall and met with the executive director.
Hi, my name is Dwayne Harris, and I'm the executive director here of the Little Theater of Manchester at Cheney Hall. I've been here for about 7 years now, so I'm pretty well versed in the history of this historic building. So the building we're in is Cheney Hall. It's a historic venue. This building was built in 1865 by the Cheney Brothers, who were well-known silk manufacturers here in Manchester, Connecticut. They built this building as a performing arts venue. They hosted symphonies, galas.
Cheney Hall also presents 5 stage performances a year. Each show performs 9 times over the course of the season.
So in 1918 and 1919, when the country was experiencing the Spanish flu epidemic, Manchester didn't have a hospital, so the Cheney Brothers actually turned the floor of our auditorium into a makeshift hospital. We had about 50 beds in the space. Family members would drop off their loved ones to be seen by doctors and nurses, and as you can imagine, a number of people left in hearses.
Dwayne has just told us some unbelievable history here, which I had no idea. I mean, I have about a 20-year history of performing in this theater with my jazz quartet, but I never knew of all the great history here. So not only that, but I can't wait to get on the investigation tonight with Dom and see what he could tune into on this history. So we have a lot of work to do, so let's go.
Next, Dwayne took us on a small tour of the theater, but when we got to the dressing rooms, Dominic felt some kind of weird energy that put the entire team on high alert. We would come back to this later, during the investigation. Next, Dwayne took us to an area of the theater not many people get a chance to see. It's the heartbeat of the theater.
So right now we're in our scene shop. We, as a theater, have to build scenery and make sets.
Now, how do you get it from here
to
the stage?
You only have a little door.
That's right. There's a stairwell that goes up, but clearly a giant house isn't going to go upstairs,
Exactly.
right? So actually, these planks here, the joints can be removed.
Wow.
And they actually take pieces from down here and raise them up. There's a hoist that we have now that can bring things down. That's a new addition. You can imagine people were leaning over a giant hole.
Oh,
and
man.
We didn't think that was safe.
Bring it
Maybe we should,
back in the day, probably
yeah.
bring it with ropes
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah,
Wow.
sure,
Wow.
sure.
I always wondered about that. Like,
Yeah.
how would you get that stuff? And that's
Well,
that's
when we
how-
go up to the attic, you'll see we still have to use some ropes because there's
We're
no
going to
good
the
thing.
attic.
We're going to the attic.
We're going to the attic.
Yes.
Oh God.
Before Dwayne showed us the attic, we had to cross over the catwalk where a mysterious shadow of a woman has been seen. Member Drusilla Carter told me her story earlier.
Tell us about some of your stories that you have had some experiences here. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Sure. So I spend a lot of time here backstage, kind of, up in the catwalks, the back stairways, places nobody really sees. And I know if you're up on the catwalks, the first time I went up there by myself, one of the former directors here was like, "Oh, I won't go up there." I was like, "Oh, it's a catwalk." But if you're up there and you're certain times and certain times a day, you'll see shadows. So on this half of the stage, there's no place for anybody to stand or for anybody to walk. But you'll see shadows up there. And if you pay attention, which I try not to, so I usually have a job to do, it looks like the shadow of a woman, like in a long dress, and there's nothing up there that could make that.
It's amazing that you're talking about the shadow and of a woman, because as soon as we walked in here, that's what Dominic was feeling. You were sensing, as soon as we walked in here, what were you sensing?
A woman, like late 1800s, early 1900s.
Okay.
Woman that was a performer here, and she really loved to perform here. This was like her favorite thing.
Now, Dominic's not here right now. We told him to leave, but because he was feeling that presence of a woman there. So I think that's one of the things that we're going to do tonight is we're going to investigate the catwalk. And I know I said earlier, I'm going to be up there investigating the catwalk tonight.
There's also, I think a lot of us have encountered or have sensed. There was a gentleman here who's instrumental in starting Little Theater, and Fred this was his baby. And Fred passed away several years ago, but it's still very much Fred's building.
I want to see if I could station Dom down in the seam shop, or the scene shop, and see if we could catch Fred down there.
Yeah, I'd
Maybe
be
we could
really
catch his
interested to
presence.
see.
Now, I don't think Dominic knows anything about any of this as far as like all of that goes. As a matter of fact, I know he doesn't. So that'll be really interesting to see if we can corroborate.
Interesting.
Really, really appreciate your stories.
Yeah,
Thank you
I'll
so
be
much.
interested to see what you find.
Absolutely.
Before Dwayne took us to the attic, I wanted to see what Dom was feeling on the catwalk.
Dom, let me ask you this. Are you feeling anything up here?
Yeah, I feel something up here. Stagehand, I feel like maybe a laceration or something along the lines that he got cut.
Dwayne took us to the third floor attic. Not much activity here, but fun nonetheless.
But it's actually our storage space for props, furniture, including our giant HVAC systems.
Dwayne took us to my favorite part of the theater.
So we are now in the prop area.
My favorite area.
Yeah. There's lots of fun and interesting things up here.
The tour was incredible, but now it was time to get to work.
Dwayne, I want to thank you so much for the tour. I mean, this is an incredible venue. I mean, I, again, have a 20-year history of performing here, but I never knew of all the great history here. And some of the inner workings of the theater that people probably would not even know about. But, you guys are doing a lot of great for the community, and, we wish you continued success on that. And, if it's all right with you, one of the reasons why we do this is we would like to conduct an investigation to see if we could flush out some of the spooky spirits that we talked about. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely. It would be great to know.
Awesome.
And then after our investigation, we'll get back together with you.
Okay.
And you can corroborate my story.
Okay.
Like tell Eric.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely.
Before starting the investigation, I took Dominic down to the main hall. He kept feeling a very strong energy down in that area.
If you see these spots, those spots came back. They weren't there when they refinished the floors. But that's why I was saying there was blood stains
In this area?
in the floor, on this floor.
All over the floor?
Just this specific, but yeah, there was other spots as well. There's been some, I don't want to say bad because it's the wrong way, upsetting, traumatic, thank you, yeah, traumatic stuff going on in this room. This room is open. I see benches in here, but I also see other things besides just those benches. But there's other things in here. I don't want to say beds, because I don't think they were beds, but there was something else in here as well.
Well, I want to just say, I mean, you're pretty much almost spot on when you say beds. Because, okay, you're getting there with the blood on the floor in beds, okay? So what you don't know, what I know, this was a makeshift hospital during the Spanish flu.
Really?
So
and we're here during COVID, which is like
how
100 years later.
How crazy is that?
We grabbed our gear: flashlights, radios, and a magnetometer. Standard operating equipment. I thought it would be better if Dominic and I split up. I started my part of the investigation up on the catwalk, while Dominic stationed himself in the scene shop.
Earlier, Dom was sensing all kinds of energy in this area, but now the magnetometer is not reading anything, so I don't know what to think now. I better check in with Dom.
Down in the scene shop, Dom was tuning in on a familiar name.
Fred?
Dom, you there?
Yo, Eric, what's up?
Are you sensing anything down there?
I just picked up the name Fred.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
He just recently passed, and it hasn't been that long.
You will not believe this.
After meeting up with Dom in the scene shop, I kept going back to what Drusilla said about Fred.
And Fred was, this was his baby. It's still very much Fred's building.
Picking up on Fred, and I'm picking him up being in this area working. This would drive him nuts. All this extra wood laying here would drive him nuts. Picking up like this is like his second home. He liked being here.
This was almost more Fred's home than
Yeah.
his home was.
Wow.
I think he's keeping an eye on it.
With the stone shock realization of knowing that Dom just connected with Fred, I decided to go back up to the catwalk to try to capture the Shadow Woman. Meanwhile, Dom went down to the dressing room where he felt that energy earlier in the day and conducted an EVP session.
Is there anybody here? Do you have anything you want to say? Give me a sign that you're here. What the hell is that? Go for Eric.
Go.
Get your ass down here to the dressing room now. What the hell was that?
Dom?
Dude, not much scares me. Something in that dressing room has freaked me out.
What happened?
I was trying to do an EVP, and all of a sudden, things just went weird. They went sideways. Is there anybody here? What the hell is that?
Like what? Like how?
You're gonna have to see for yourself. I can't even explain it.
Okay, I don't know what the hell Dom saw, but I've never seen him really shaken like this. The only time I've ever seen him this scared was when we were investigating the Beast of Bray Road. I don't know what he saw, but we're gonna have to look at that footage and find out what the hell's going on. So what the hell did you see, man? Or what did you hear?
It's what I heard. I didn't see anything.
Okay.
But let me show you where I was sitting, where I was trying to do the EVP. So I was around this corner. That's the chair I was sitting in trying to do the EVP.
Okay.
I asked, first question, I'm afraid to ask again. Is there anybody here? Is there anything you want to say? And I said, give me a sign. And that's when I heard it.
What did you hear?
I don't even know how to explain it. Big bang crash. It sounded like the roof was coming down.
Really?
I have no idea what it was, that nothing in here moved. And I just got up and I ran over to see what it was, and there was nothing.
We met up with Dwayne in the lobby and told him about what just happened to Dom in the dressing room. Dwayne then dropped a bombshell on us and told us about a coworker who had a similar experience to Dom's. We were to meet up with Lucas Vio, who told us this story.
So there was actually a day where I was working downstairs here in Cheney Hall, doing some maintenance work, and I was there for a couple of hours, and when I came back upstairs, the secretary, Debbie, had asked me, what did I need, what did I want? And I was kind of confused because I'd been downstairs for a few hours, and she said, well, you were in the hall knocking on the wall to get my attention. And I said, no, Debbie, I've been downstairs for like 3 hours.
This account matches almost exactly with what Dom just experienced downstairs in the dressing room.
What the hell is that?
Kind of freaked her out.
The rest of the investigation was uneventful, so we decided to call it a night. As the sun was coming up, we got on the Merritt Parkway and headed back to our office in Bucks County to go through all the footage that we just collected.
Dom, glad you're here today. We got to recap this video up at Cheney Hall. I mean, what you experienced that night, when I saw that footage, I couldn't believe it.
I mean, when we first got there and standing on the porch, I was getting the woman right away. I mean, she was right there the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, for you to pick up the presence of the woman there.
It was really cool that Drusilla actually has seen this woman.
Working with Dwayne, too, the director, was great because I love working with forward-thinking people like that, he wasn't afraid to delve into the history and what could possibly be there.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the dressing room.
Oh, yeah, and what about Fred? I mean, really, what about Fred?
He was definitely present there, and as soon as I got his name, he came out even stronger and was like, I don't like this, look at all the stuff laying everywhere, I always sweep when I'm done, this place is dirty. He was funny. So he had a comedic side to him.
Every time we go on an investigation, we seem to have all of these things happen. You must be a connector for these things.
Being receptive, being open, just draws them in even more.
Let's get Dwayne on the line and let's recap this video because I want to get his take and what he thought of what happened that night.
First of all, we want to say thank you so much. We had such a great time. I had no idea of all the great history. And for what you were telling us and what Drusilla was telling us, and then what Lucas eventually told us too, just really blew us away.
So it was great to have you guys here and have you take a look at all the stuff that we do and the behind the scenes of the work.
It's an incredible place for the community. The community you are such a treasure for the community to have right in their own backyard. So, if anything, this shows, Cheney Hall in that light as well. You're a go-to destination for entertainment.
Yeah, we're very thankful to be in the space and glad we could be a big part of its continued history.
I know you got a chance to look at some of the video. That's what we're going to recap today. And I know Dom had some really incredible thoughts too. I guess we should start out with, when we first got there, as soon as we walked in, what were you feeling?
I felt a woman in there that was a performer that loved to be there. And she was present at the time when we were there.
Then we kind of quietly sent Dominic away, and you were able to connect me with Drusilla, who told us the story of the shadow woman in the catwalk that she had seen and people had seen. So it was amazing to me that he had felt that right away and didn't know about that until we were actually doing the investigation. You took us on the tour, and the tour was great. And and it seemed like the Cheney Hall goes forever. I mean, there's so many rooms, it's crazy. But it was down in the dressing room that I believe that Dominic, you felt some really weird energy there.
There was definitely some strange energy I was getting, and that's when I was sensing. I didn't know at the time, but it was a hospital.
And then before we get to the dressing room, because I want to kind of watch that clip with you. Then we went into the scene shop. I was blown away about how you get those things up on the stage. That was amazing. Just the floor stuff. But again, Dominic is feeling this energy in the scene shop, not knowing that after you had told me, and he eventually, figured it out, that Fred Blish basically spent most of his time there, and he was in the scene shop, and he was really an integral part of Cheney Hall, as you saw in the video. But the fact that he was picking up on a name.
And as I was sitting there letting him come in, I picked up on the alphabet, and it was the upper part of the alphabet. I started off with a G, and I'm like, it's G, George, and no. And I'm okay, Fred? And all of a sudden it was Fred. As soon as I got his name, it was really quick. And he was saying how back before they used to carry some stuff, smaller items that were a little large, but not huge, but how they used to carry them up that back stairwell and how much of a pain it was.
People are feeling his presence there.
Oh yeah, he's still there.
Yeah,
it was his home away from home.
Sure, I mean, definitely his sets were. People still talk about some of his sets, and he definitely, he was Little Theater of Manchester for quite a while. And so, how could a piece of him not still be here? So much of him.
Yeah, and that's a good feeling too. And and I know his wife is still alive, so this is good. And hopefully this gives her a little comfort too. We went to the dressing room afterward. Yeah. We usually try to stay together on the investigations. It doesn't always happen, but I figured we could cover more area. So I had him down in the dressing room, and what happened next? I mean, it just was like it. I don't know. I've seen him freaked out, but I never saw him as freaked out as this, except for when we were in Wisconsin. Oh, yeah. But what happened there?
Well, I went down there, and again, you and I had talked, and I was feeling that lady's presence, and in the dressing room area, I wanted to see if I could get anything on an EVP session, and I was asking questions. Is there anybody there? Give me a sign. And when I said give me a sign, all of a sudden it sounded like it was a chair or something that had moved. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it was like there was like this noise, and I don't know what it was, but I heard it, and I got up, and right away I was like, what is going on?
Let's look at that. Let's look at this, because your reaction to that
was scared the heck
was crazy. And looking at that footage.
Yeah.
But let's look at that, and let's talk about that as well.
Give me a sign that you're here. What the hell is that?
Yeah, that's pretty intense. I got to tell you, I mean, I've been in here late at night by myself too a lot of times, and there's certainly noises that I hear, so it's not surprising that there was something there.
Give me a sign that you're here.
But for the most part, I mean, you see the video. We didn't really catch a lot of things, but we did catch some things. But I think overall, the history of Cheney Hall is such a rich history. You're bound to have those residual energies there, you know. Yeah, sure. And I don't think it's nothing malevolent, nothing scary, anything like that. So I think customers and fans and people have no worries. But it's an incredible place to come to, And
yeah, for sure.
You guys are doing so many great things there, man. It's phenomenal.
We're really happy to be here, be able to serve the people of Manchester and beyond. And so it's it's great to have you guys too, and get to show more people of sort of what's back behind the stage. I mean, so many people don't see it and don't realize all that's there.
And all the work that goes into a production.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. So we are so happy again that you invited us up to do this video, and I hope the town loves it. And we'll have to come back up and do a screening and do some events for you guys too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure.
It'll
be great.
Well, listen, thank you so much, Dwayne. I really appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was my pleasure, guys.
All right, and tell everybody we said thank you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
Thanks so much. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Take care.